Okay, hello and welcome to these fantastic live streams. My name's Barry O'Reilly. I'm the author of Artificial Organizations. And over the next couple of weeks, I'm going to be running these live sessions where you get to spend time with me and we explore all the topics that are covered in my new book, Artificial Organizations: Build Judgment, Speed, and Results by combining human and machine intelligence. It's been really exciting to be working on this book over the last number of months. And the real inspiration, I guess, came for me from my own personal opinion. I'd sort of started off working in this space for many years. I'm the co-founder of Nobody Studios. It's an early stage AI venture studio builder. We've been voted into the top 10 venture studios globally the last couple of years. But I've also written a number of other books, first starting off with Lean Enterprise, which was part of the Lean Startup movement, and more recently on Learn, a book about helping people adapt their behavior. And so for me, the inspiration came from just real dealing with the challenges of being an entrepreneur, building these companies. I was sitting at my desk 1 o'clock in the morning with another business case that I needed to get done. My dinner was cold, my family was asleep, and I was wondering why was I here? Why was I stuck in this situation yet again? Lots of opportunities in front of me, lots of things that I wanted to work on, and yet I felt stuck. I felt like there was a better way that I needed to find to work. And for me, that was the real inspiration about starting to explore ways that I could work differently. Instead of doing the same things that I had always done, find new ways that could help me innovate. And it was at that moment that I first started to explore and experiment with these tools, not necessarily to replace how I worked, but to change how I work, to allow me to capture information, to use it in ways that would make me faster, that would make me understand. I would not lose context about all the work that I was doing. And that was a moment that really just sort of changed the way I think about these tools, the way I work, and the opportunity in front of us. You see, the biggest challenge that most people think is that they start with these tools thinking that they are about productivity, that they're going to make them faster, better, do things be cheaper, get more volume and output done. And the truth is, that's exactly where you should start. But as you explore them more, as you start to not necessarily just rely on tools, but start to look at the tasks that matter for you and be more performant with them, getting things done better. For me, when I started, I would download and use a meeting copilot as a first simple step. It allowed me to capture every single meeting that I did as an asset. It allowed me to learn constantly what was working. I could focus a lot more on conversations when I was working with teams. At the end of each meeting, I could go back and look over the notes, ask myself questions about how did I do in that meeting? What were the actions? And send those to other people. And they noticed. And moments after finishing meetings, I'd be sending them messages, great recaps of everything that we'd done. Before I set up for the next meeting, I could prepare, go back over the notes that I had. So instantly my performance started to improve. But what really happened in the long term is something very, very different. I got back presence. I started emptying my head of all these extra information that I was carrying around. I learned to trust the systems and around me that they could capture information to allow me synthesize it later so I could make better decisions and take better actions. So what I really got was not necessarily productivity or performance, but presence. I could show up calm, ready for high stakes conversations in a prepared manner. This was sort of one of the huge breakthroughs for me to understand that the real promise here is not necessarily productivity, it's actually executive presence. How you show up, calm, prepared for high stakes moments under pressure, feeling informed and ready to make high stakes, difficult choices based on the information you've captured to help support you make those choices. And this is really what we're seeing now, is that there's sort of two different curves that many leaders are on. There's the folks that sort of rely on the things that they have always done, the methods that made them successful in the past, thinking that they'll be successful in the future. It's almost like a very linear curve. But technology has quite an effect on us. And we've seen innovation curves, whether you were involved in the mobile movement, in cloud computing, and now with AI. Initially, when you start to work in a new way, it's a bit awkward. You actually have to unlearn a lot of the ways that you've worked before. And that can actually slow down the way you work. It can feel a sort of constrain, a block. But once you start to figure out and experiment and relearn, you get this massive shift in performance, productivity, and improvement. And this is the moment we're at now with these tools. Leaders who are starting to experiment with AI are powering ahead. They're showing up more prepared, they have clearer thinking, they have less baggage and challenges holding on to because they trust that they've built a system, a judgment system, and infrastructure around them to allow them to make better decisions at higher quality and more frequency. So there's less reversals and more speed about how they move through their work. And this is sort of the promise about where we are right now with these tools and what's captured inside the book to inspire people how to work in these new ways. But it's still the biggest challenge is that most people get stuck. They hear a lot of the FOMO around this industry about they're too late, they're behind. You're not. You start where you are, and this is your opportunity to build from there. But it's very important about how you start to tackle changing the way you work. For most people, they keep hearing about these tools, how they should be using ChatGPT, how they should be using Claude, Cowork, Gemini. We're inundated with tools, 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 but it's the wrong place to start. The place you need to start is actually with yourself, your natural human traits. How do you do your best work? When I wrote my last book on Learn, I tried to sit at my desk and tried to type. That's what I thought authors did. They sat at their desks, they typed out 1,000 words a day, and that's how they made books. And I tried that, and it didn't work for me. And I struggled. I wondered, well, maybe I'm not capable of doing this. But then I sat back and reflected. I thought about, well, how do I actually do my best work? And I realized for me, the way when I'm generating the best information, the best conversations is actually talking. I like to talk out ideas with people, have back and forth Socratic process to improve them. So once I realized actually the best way for me to generate information is actually talking, then I started to think about the task of actually creating content. Once I really understood that my natural trait was talking, that the best task I was trying to achieve was create content, then I could start to look at tools that would help me do that. That's when I actually then hired a journalist to work with me, and he would interview me, and we would run a transcription service to capture all the conversations that we were having. So we would speak, I would bullet out a chapter, and we would speak for sort of 20 minutes. And over that time, it would generate over thousands of words. So when we finished the call, my journalist co-author would sit down and lightly edit the content that we just created and ship it back to me instantly. I'd get a minimum viable chapter literally in minutes, and then suddenly start iterating the way that they work. It felt like we were just moving at lightning speed because I was using my natural traits for high leverage tasks and having a right tool that supported my natural workflow. It augmented my natural abilities. That was the huge breakthrough for me to start to realize how could I use these tools to make myself more effective. And this is the most important thing about you as you start this journey. Being good in this environment is actually about honesty. It's asking yourself the tough questions. How do I do my best work? Understanding your natural traits that make you successful, thinking about the highest leverage tasks that make you have unfair advantage and create outsized value, and then starting to look at tools. Most people start with tools and they don't even know if they're the right fit for the tasks that they're trying to do or their natural traits about how they work. They get stuck playing around with lots of tools, fragmented, and then thinking, this isn't for me. This is your chance to really radically change the way that you work. This went on then to really inspire me about thinking about how entire organizations should be working and thinking about all the different parts that are built of them. For most organizations, they're trapped in these meeting centric cultures. We have more information than we've never had, dashboards that are full of data, and yet decisions feel slower. We're not moving faster. Artificial organizations are really about when you're bringing companies together and pairing the best of human intelligence with machine intelligence, where you get the best of both. Best outcomes come from your natural human instincts paired with machine intelligence to give you the insight to do that. And this is the shifts that we're starting to see, that people move away from thinking about these products just in terms of productivity, but actually in terms of performance. AI is initiative stall because people move from experimentation and never get into operational advantage. In the book, we'll show you how to do that. But it's relying on two key metrics: decision velocity and decision advantage. How fast decisions can be made with stronger judgment, and also what information do you have to support those decisions with your decision advantage. Then understanding the aspects of the T3 model about your tasks in tools and how your traits fill into that. But then building judgment infrastructure, how you turn meetings, conversations, and workflows into compounding decision assets, capturing information from every moment of your day and using it to feed into your decision cycles to make things better. It's about getting away from AI theater into measurable outcomes, metrics that matter, reducing decision latency, lowering reversal rates, and faster time to clarity about making choices. The biggest challenge about this is you've got to learn. Nobody knows it all, and yet most people are most nervous about it. One of the things I did last summer is I ran a survey called the Artificial Organizations AI Executive Study, where I interviewed over 5,000 senior leaders on my mailing list. The number one insight was actually that most leaders want to learn on their own one-on-one and in small groups because they're kind of embarrassed. They feel like they should know this stuff. There's pressure every day to understand and do more. But what I've learned from working with these folks is that they're extremely competent and talented. They just needed a safe space to get started, to think big and start small and experiment with these tools in their day-to-day work. But the most important part as a senior leader is you've got to experiment in the open. You've got to role model to other people how you're learning to use these tools to inspire them to adopt them too. Now, the book is packed with lots and lots of case studies of companies that I've been working with over the last number of years. Companies like Andrew Phillips, who's the CTO of Skyscanner, someone with a great technical background, right through to leaders at Progeny or American Airlines, who have found their own way to use these tools in areas such as HR, right through to commercial and sales. All of these leaders learning to learn in a new way, learning to work in a new way and experience massive performance improvements. It's been inspiring to have great testimonials from senior leaders at Vanguard, Instagram, and Slack, where I helped set up a global community of 200 executives, all learning together to experiment with these new tools. What worked, what didn't. It was building and learning in the open, sharing lessons learned to experience how they can help other people get there. Now, the book is going to be launched next week. We're extremely excited about it. It's a huge opportunity for people to get exposure to a new way of working. As part of the pre-launch, I'm making sure I'm giving everybody an opportunity to download some of the sample chapters where you can get a sort of taster about what this book is about. It's built on real lessons learned from being in the arena of making extremely hard decisions in high stakes moments with leaders who are facing real challenges. It's been an honor to be invited into those rooms with these leaders as they had to make these tough choices under pressure, real constraints, but yet using these tools to achieve higher performance and greater executive presence when they show up. Also, the opportunity of building an AI venture studio over the last 5 years has allowed me to understand ways to build these products and take them to market, but also leverage these tools to make us more efficient and more robust as a studio. I'm extremely excited to share this book. It's going to be live now, literally next week. And what I'll be doing over the next number of weeks, same time every Thursday, is to be sharing lessons with you all. Each chapter we'll go through as a group. I'll invite people to offer and share questions. You're welcome to ask questions in the comments here as well, where we'll go through each chapter in the book in great detail to help you understand, what was the inspiration behind that? How did I arrive to these conclusions? What were some of the struggles I felt personally? I'll share each of the case studies from companies, as I've mentioned, like Slack, Skyscanner, American Airlines, and more, where you'll hear stories of the leaders who actually have gone through this process, who've worked with me one-on-one or part of my coaching programs to have exposed results. People who have worked with us have seen savings of literally between 6 to 10 hours a week, literally inside a week. They're showing up, decision velocity has increased by maybe 20 to 30%. They've less reversals in decisions that they're making, and they're showing up to work happier, healthier, and with greater presence. I'm extremely excited, again, to bring these ideas to the world. If you have any questions on these live streams, make sure you drop them into the comments and share. I'll be answering them in real time and making this a fun, interactive show. If you feedback about what you'd like to hear about on these shows going forward, be sure to drop them in the comments below. If you're interested, again, to get sample chapters of the book, please go to the code that I just shared previously, where you can download those sample chapters, or go to artificialorganizations.com, where you can access and follow along about the release of the book. I'm extremely excited to share this with the world. As I said, we've had some of the world's best leaders use these systems that we've created and tools to help them accelerate and achieve extraordinary results. I'm looking forward to hearing your feedback every week as we run this show together. So thank you very much for joining us today. And remember, the book goes live literally to next week. So be ready. I think it's going to be something that's extremely special. Thanks very much for joining us today.